Imagine if leadership and development was a uniting factor for people towards a certain achievement. When people set aside their political differences and affront a cause that will benefit everyone.
What does Omuntu wa wansi see as development in Entebbe?
We have the only international airport in this area.
There is no way we can underlook issues of health.
Buza meya achegana, tauni kiraka achegana.
Who is the problem now?
Ensonga ene ejja kuggwa.
That is politics.
Era tulina kyakulya n'ekyata kigenda kubaawo.
Atene President Museveni bannanga akyali baby.
Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. as we discuss matters in Entebbe, the first Uganda's colonial capital, and what it deserves. Well, thank you very much for joining us once again. We are coming to you this time from Entebbe Regional Referral Hospital, and this is one of the facilities. Let me say it's a key and icon treatment center for COVID-19, because this is the facility where the index case of COVID-19 was registered, and from that time in 2020, 2 years now, many people have gone through this facility and let me say recovered from COVID. There are those who lost their lives. We continue to say sorry, but nevertheless, the hospital has been very key in managing COVID-19. 2020 up to 2022, it still stands to serve the public. And remember, this is a regional referral hospital that is, aiding 5 districts. Many people had to come here for COVID treatment, but remember, besides COVID, there were other illnesses that people were grappling with. But we were able to come through. As COVID, of course, continues to draw the graph down, there are many people who have partly contributed in curbing down this pandemic. Among them are the health workers, the support staff, and all other people who volunteered to come and stand in, because COVID came when everyone was green. People were learning on their jobs. People were, still learning what to do for themselves to survive. But nevertheless, the man himself who took it, the man who took it upon himself to research and write about COVID in Africa generally, but he has particularly in Uganda. He is a man who has published a book, if you can see it here, Coronavirus 2019, A View from Africa. And this is the Professor Musoke. He's a health worker. He has served also as a director of the Uganda Virus Institute. He has taught in many universities, but currently Nkumbe is where his major emphasis is. He's teaching health sciences. And he published this book when COVID was making 2 years in Uganda. A lot is in it, but we also know from the other side, the Red Cross team, which was more surveillance and response to matters of supporting community and also advising them on what to do. On the set this beautiful morning, I am joined by the professor himself, and that is Musoke. He teaches at Nkumba University. I can say he's a lecturer. On the other side, I have Isaac Talema. He is a volunteer with Uganda Red Cross. And gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this discussion.
Thank you.
Welcome, Isaac.
Thank you so much.
I want to quickly start with the professor himself. Professor, you have a book now put out to the public. What can you tell us that this book contains?
Okay, Ivan, thank you for that question. Obviously, it would take maybe a number of days to explain what is there, but briefly, this is a book which was written proactively as the pandemic went on. And so the beauty is that it moved with the pandemic, okay, noting what was happening and how people were, dealing with whatever was happening. And at the beginning, in that book, when people buy it, they can read it, but I can tell them that there is a background. What is what we call a novel disease or a novel infection? Novel is just a simple word meaning new, okay? Because when a disease is new, there are all sorts of challenges, okay? And I even in that book give the reader, some examples of new infections at that time, infections like SARS, like bird flu or avian influenza at that time, infections like MERS, okay, and you know, such that the reader can get a background. Then at some stage, I then inform this person of what was happening from Wuhan time to that time around April 2021, you know, when we were, you know, when the content of this book, you know.
So, Professor Beskal, are you trying to tell us that the journey for this book has started way away from Uganda here?
Yeah, you see, it shows the history of this infection from Wuhan as a focal point, then to China as a country. Okay, it shows the sort of very organized way China, you know, dealt with it. And then in it, we start to show various examples of how countries prepared to battle with this new infection, the challenges they faced. And after that one, you know, in that book, I try to show the reader the actual enemy himself or herself, okay, who is Covid-19. It's a coronavirus from a family, Coronaviridae. Okay, they also have families as we have, okay, and what it does to the person who is sick. And then in that book, I mentioned that it was a battle, okay? People were trying to win.
Okay, Professor, I will cut you short. In the book, you're talking about the first day when the first case, the index case of COVID-19 was registered here in Uganda. I partly covered, I think, after a day I came here. But the panic, the fear that was infiltrated, the kind of, let me say, panic people had is a story of its own. How have you described that? I think that was 2020? I remember the date was March 26th?
March
22nd, yes. So how have you described that day for the first person who is following and wanting to understand from? How have you portrayed it in your book?
Okay, I mentioned that being a new infection, okay, there is always that challenge of fear. Okay, you know, people fear. And it took the ministry, the courage, and the country to say that, yes, this is an illness which is dangerous. And then it took also courage for Dr. Mwanga, Dr. Moses Mwanga, who was the
director of
the hospital, who is actually one of the heroes, as I will tell you, you know, as we go along, who agreed that let that case be brought here. Of course, you covered, and you know the sort of fear which was here, and you know that some people even left the place, even some professionals. Okay, well, which is normal, you know, we are all human beings. But the courageous stayed, including Dr. Mwanga, a number of nurses. And that's why even the picture on the cover shows the heroes, okay?
Who were here at the time.
The people who are here, and even to show that they are conquering the enemy, they were even jubilating.
Okay, Professor, let me come back to you shortly. Isaac Taremwa, as the Red Cross, the pandemic was new to everyone. Red Cross, you've always been at the emergency service of the public. How do you then get the strength to come to the hospital and start supporting these people? I saw you many times bringing some stuff here, items, but this was a COVID-0 ground. How do you get the strength then to come and battle this with the health workers who are here?
Yeah, of course, COVID came in as a new infection. We are all learning from it. But as an organization, a humanitarian organization that is there to complement government effort, we had to also see how best do we support the government to see that we risk communicate, because this was something new. We've always done risk communication for different pandemics, for different diseases, cholera, Ebola. So we learned it. Of course, that was through a series of trainings that we happened to have. And then we were strong enough to go and serve.
I am looking at you as Red Cross coming into supporting a facility where even health workers themselves were fearing. But you came in and said, we need to. Was it the passion, the love for the country, the passion and the love for the people? I'm just looking at that one thing that was at the back of your mind, because this was a life and die kind of situation.
Exactly. It is love and passion, but also strengthened with training. After training, we knew how to protect ourselves, and then we had to serve the public to see that we get rid of this infection and we see that we get to normal conditions again.
Has it left your life the same? Personally, because you are into it, has it left you the same?
Personally, there has been a lot to learn about the infection. I'm actually happy to have been part of it, because there is a lot that I got to learn about this infection. And we've been able to relay this same information to the people out there to remove the stigma that was already caused by the infection, to try and elaborate it more to the population out there who didn't understand it.
Okay, let me leave it there. Let me go back to the professor. Professor, in your book, you're highlighting people that you are calling heroes. Who are these people you are calling heroes?
Okay, thanks, Ivan. The list is a long one, and you'll be surprised that those heroes actually I picked from all over the world. Yes. But as they say, charity starts at home. One of the major heroes in that book is no other than our own president, His Excellency, President Museveni. Because like during HIV, when people were saying it's not a difficult disease, again, the Uganda government said this is a dangerous disease from the first knowledge of it. They said this is dangerous and we must take care. And you remember how he even was like a good teacher teaching us how to defend. Then the Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Jena Cheng, the what we call in health work, the National Task Force for Covid19, all that groups, directors, Director General, Institute, School of Public Health, and the others. And then, of course, I can pull out, a few of those heroes. One of my main heroes, apart from those, this is for Uganda in this case, were the market vendors, the women in particular, who decided to sleep
around their stalls in the
around and along their stalls for months in fear of taking the disease back home. These are really heroes. Simple as they are, to me they are heroes. Then there was a police officer, a policewoman, who, when they were collecting money for the Prime Minister's
salary, I remember.
Yes, for the Prime Minister's fund, okay. She gave her whole salary, which is small, but you can see.
Was it about 400,000?
Yes, something like that. Okay, you have a very good memory. And, so you see that is a hero. Then there was a secondary school girl, I think Rubiri High School.
I also remember that.
Who gave her pocket money, 30,000 or so. Okay, then there was a British centenarian, okay, a certain person, later captain, later promoted as honorary colonel. Okay, the man was about 100 years, but he said he would move around his house in the compound to be sponsored. And he got over, millions of pounds for the health service. You see, 100 years. Okay, so the listeners can know that at their age, what they did to fight corona. But, okay, so there was then a girl in Katanga slum who, when she saw the lockdown, called all other children and made a makeshift what? Class to teach. Just a teenager, you know. So they are all there. And again, when you read that book, you'll find that when people saw this was a new, they tried all sorts of innovations to fight the enemy.
I remember, let me just cut you short. I remember coming here, I think, Isaac, I met you the time as well. There was a gentleman called Sn1. This gentleman used to come here with a spraying pump on his man. I was going to ask you, I don't know why he's not, I think I didn't read that verse, so I've not yet gotten it.
One of these heroes.
Yep.
Was a self-engineered person who, with his money, bought, you know, disinfectants and started, you know. So you can see, you know, we are telling the world that because he said, you know, a view from Africa, that even in our continent, there are people, simple as they are, who are actually heroes in this fight.
You know, people think for you to be a hero, you need to have resources.
Yeah, but
I think they know for you to save someone, you need to have the financial hand in it.
yeah,
And here you're trying to show that there are people who dedicated their hearts, there are people who
yes,
dedicated their...
in the US, you know, there are people who donated food, and you could see here, of course, you could go to get food in your simple, you know, Boots or Gomez, but you could see people driving their, you know, these big cars, Fords, in the US, lining up for free food. Okay, you know, so you can see that the people donating food, they were also heroes. Okay, you know.
Okay, Professor, let me hold it there. Isaac, when there was a lockdown, people never had food. Before that, you have dealt, or you have had to deal with the rising water levels that submerged other people's homes. And I say it was quite a challenging time for you because you were delivering food. I saw you many times at the RDC's office going there to say, we have identified a family somewhere that doesn't have anything to eat. Really, what picture can you paint for us as Red Cross that you are able to learn that with the challenges we've had with the pandemic, there are communities that really need to prepare for such moments in life?
You see, disaster happen at any time. You can never know when it is coming. So, of course, COVID hit us. We didn't expect it. We were hearing it, and of course, government had already made plans. But at Red Cross itself, when lockdown happened, that's when the real emergency started. So we had to prepare ourselves. Of course, we were dealing with other challenges, like you mentioned, the water increase. We had tried to make assessments, tried to lobby support, and then here COVID comes in.
But,
so when COVID came in, of course, it added on to the challenges that were already on the community, but now COVID was of a much impact on the communities because there was a lockdown, people were not working, people were home, there was no food, and we had to work well with the office of the RDC, where all food was collected from well-wishers, and we, because of our assessments that we had kept on doing, we were able to know that this family needs such and such material, such material.
I remember a time when we met people on the lake. People were fishing small and mature tilapia to survive on. Yes. But basically here we are looking at the vulnerability of families. And what do families have to learn from this, especially that they need to prepare? A saving would not do much. We have a low savings culture. This was in its early stages, I think, or the first or the second week, and people were crying out to government. Government food took ages to come through, although some well-wishers were able to come in and support. But is there some relevance you draw from that and you think people have to adapt to and live with it in case we have another, maybe, catastrophe that may unfold with the time to come?
Yes. COVID was able to give us a learning lesson. And there are so many lessons that we have learned out of COVID. First, the people had to learn to be innovative. Then the people
You
also
had to learn to eat less food.
exactly.
You prepare one meal to go for lunch, supper, and breakfast tomorrow.
People had to learn to do side jobs because they didn't have this in their mentality that, you know, I can do this, but also have a side business that could sustain us during what? During an emergency like this. So I think it drew a learning lesson, and which we also encourage that disaster preparedness should not only be for these big organizations or for government.
Okay, Isaac, maybe you end up in 30 seconds before we go in for a break.
So it should be for everyone. Do I have a contingency plan? If I'm doing my savings, if I'm spending my money on this, in case of an emergency, do I have a contingency plan to counter that emergency that happens? So it is something that we need to adapt as citizens, as people.
Okay, let's hold it there, Professor and Isaac. Let's just go in for a short commercial break, and when we return, I still have the Professor Meath Musoke and then the Red Cross volunteer Isaac Atarema to still keep us with the conversation shortly after this break. Welcome to Entebbe. Uganda's first colonial capital, the home of recreation and tourism. Meet its welcoming people and enjoy the fresh winds from Lake Victoria.
Entebbe, the land of freshness, fresh breeze, fresh water, fresh weather, and fresh foods. Entebbe is not just the gateway to Uganda, but also fresh foods supplied from 81 Sese Islands in Lake Victoria. Fresh foods from the garden to Chitoro Market and straight to your home. Visit Chitoro Market in Entebbe, Uganda's first capital for all your fresh foods.
Well, we'll be back from that commercial break. We're still here at the Entebbe Regional Referral Hospital, which is a key and icon treatment center to COVID-19. And I'm still seated with Professor Meath Musoke, who is a researcher, a public health practitioner, but also, let me say, a discussant in as far as how this topic is being handled. He published a book, which is right here with me, Coronavirus COVID-19, A View from Africa, and a lot more information is into it, and I am sure someone has to get it for reading. But on the other side, I still have also Isaac Atarema, who is a volunteer with Uganda Red Cross. And we're still speaking matters COVID-19, the post-era this time. So I want to link to my colleague Joan Akelo, who is speaking to the hotel owners, proprietors, to give us a sense of how they've been surviving. What is the post-COVID-19 era like, and what the pandemic meant to them? Joan Akelo, you can pick it away from me.
Good morning, Ivan, and good morning to our viewers, Joe and Azeva. This morning, we're going to talk to Mr. Rahul Patidal. He's the vice chairperson of Entebbe Chamber of Commerce. He wears a number of hats, but this morning, let's talk about his role in the Chamber of Commerce and what it means for him, what role he does in this Chamber of Commerce, what it means for the hoteliers in Entebbe, and, you know, just the conversation we are having about COVID and post-recovery, what is happening in the industrial, the hotel business, you know, just what it means for them that the economy has been fully reopened, what the journey has been since March 2020. You're welcome to the show, Mr. Rahul.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Say hello to our viewers.
Hello, all viewers. And my name is Rahul Patidar, and I am currently holding a position as a vice chairperson in Entebbe Chamber of Commerce, and it is also a part of Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Uganda. And Chamber of Commerce Entebbe is working as a branch office for Entebbe district, and we are here to talk about the past COVID and the accommodations, occupancy rates, and the tariff rates, and the business, how the economy is doing after COVID and the current situation.
Okay. But before we can talk about post-recovery, what was it like? What was the situation like during COVID when the pandemic just broke out? Let's say from March or January 2020 to say early this year.
Okay, during the first lockdown, I think it was a very fearful journey for the all hotel industry and the aviations and like education industries, because these are the most affected industries during the COVID. And as in 2020, that was the first time, so the people was very much scared, and that time it was a big loss, and the occupancy rate was completely zero.
0%.
Completely zero. And as we know, all aware that all airports were closed during that first COVID time. So that was a lot of impact was there in the economy, and as well as in the occupancy rates, and people also fear they were not moving out. Everybody was trying to save their self. But in the second lockdown, I think it was a bit better, because people be used to with these kind of things, and they introduced with the new SOPs. They were taking care for the SOPs. So after second lockdown, I think our occupancy rates also increased from 0 to at least 10%, 15%. Yes, it's all depending on the hotel locations and all, and the size of the hotels. As we are coming in the SMEs, like a small hotel, boutique kind of hotels. So the many hotels are there in Entebbe in this size of hotels. So occupancy rates was really down, and we've been having tough time during the COVID time. And then you can see we are in the lake shore of Entebbe. That was also another challenge for us because the water was really, the level was high, and during that time we also lost our beaches, and really it was tough time, but we have survived, and we are trying to come up, as you can say, back to normal. But still the journey is long, and it will take time to come back to the normal, as we have a lot of challenges. You can see that the park fees also being increased.
The ones of Uganda Wildlife Authority.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, and this the war is going on. That is also one kind of challenge after COVID. So we are facing that challenge also, and tourists are not that much, which used to be before 2020. So now the things is still tough, but yes, we are trying to make as much as possible. All the hotels are reducing their tariffs as normal tariffs. Now, depending on the hotel size, brand, 20%, some hotel 30%, some hotel even 50%, they are reducing their tariffs to bring back the crowd. Okay. And we are trying.
Okay. So how many hotels and inns do we have in Entebbe? The hotels, lodges,
the hotels,
inns.
and if you talk about the big brands, they are like maybe 20 in numbers.
Okay. Those ones
I'm
have
just
about
giving
how
the
many
approximately features, and those are sometimes busy because of the government conferences and meetings. But we mid-size hotels, if you count, they are also big in numbers. Maybe you can say, if countable, uncountable, something is hidden, is not registered in the digital social media and other platforms. But if you all counts in Entebbe, I can say it's more than 800 hotels.
Wow.
From small to big.
That's okay. And what's the average number of workers these hotels?
Okay, in the mid-size hotel, you can say from 5 to 10.
Okay.
Some hotels are having maybe 10 to 20. It's all depending on the size. If I talk in terms of my business, we have 8 rooms.
Saffron
Beach Bistro Cottages. We have 8 rooms, and currently we are having like 12 numbers. Okay. In terms of security, kitchen staff, service staff, housekeeping. So altogether it is 12.
Now, during when the hotels were really hit so hard, March 2020 to let's say December last year, or let's say maybe July of last year, what did hotels do, including yours? What did you do about the labor force? You know, the workers you had.
No, that time we lay down the staff, and we strict in some small numbers, where we advise our people that we cannot afford to have all the people on board, because we do not have business. But yes, 5 to 6 members We put them in-house. We taken care for their staff, food and all, and they've been operating from the hotel itself.
Okay, so they
Yes.
never left the hotel?
No.
They stayed in?
Stayed in the hotel during the lockdown, and we also taken care of them like a family, and we also cater them the vaccinations, and also the in-house staff was like they are loyal to us also. And also the Saffron also loyal to them, and we had this tough time together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about other hotels? I'm sure they
I
also
think
might
the all
play that.
hotels they were doing same during that time, because it's a big size hotel. It has a big number of employees, so they reduced maybe 60% during the lockdown.
So they kept
And they were running on the
40%.
minimum staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when they came back, did you pay, let's say, those who had gone off, you had laid off, did you pay them the money for the time they were not here?
Not really. If
Or-
you talk to me about myself, I cannot say for others what is going on, but the most of the hotels have not paid really. But yes, some of the hotels they reduce the staff in not in big numbers, but they reduce their salaries.
So they
Like they reduce
reduced,
40%, 50%, and the way the market was improving, they keep increasing their salary and now trying to bring back to the normal.
Okay.
So if the big hotels have done such a way that if 100 employees are there, maybe they cut down 30% or 20%, the rest employees they reduce the salaries. But for in our small hotels, the number was not too big, so we didn't reduce the salaries, but we reduced the staff numbers.
Okay, okay. Now, the issue of Uganda Wildlife Authority, the new park fees, how is it affecting you people? Does it cut into your profit, or you will
Okay,
have to
of
increase
course,
the charges?
if you talk in the fees of the park and art, yes, the many travelers are planning. Uganda is a beautiful country, it's a pearl of Africa.
For sure.
And yes, who come first time, they are impressed that yes, it's a full of nature, blessed by the God. And the people plan their tour and the visits, family trips and the safaris. And so when you talk about the fees, yes, it's really not pocket friendly, because it is not only the fees. During this COVID, the airfare also increased. So when you are planning a trip with the family, you can see that
Not $100 more.
not $100, it's more.
It's more than that.
Yes, because when the flight is empty, they also increase
The ticket
their occupancy is
prices.
also not like, it's same like a hotel. That where the flights were full 80%, 90%, people were traveling in the flight, now it's come to 40%, 50%, sometime even 30%. So the airfare has gone high, so that is also a cost. Then the park fee increase, that is also a cost. So I think at this tough time, the all has to together and discount, so encourage the people to come. Now prices are cheaper, so they also have their budgets. And really the budget has gone down because the expenses are more. Can you imagine, before there was no expenditure for the mask, no expenditure for the sanitizer
And COVID tests.
and COVID tests. So now these are the extra burden on the travelers. A good thing is that that our government has now stopped COVID tests on arrival. So I think it's good, and it's a very encouraging step have taken by the government. So it can encourage more tourists, because when they read in the newspaper and the social medias, and that's when you are going to Uganda, there is a queue and there is a COVID test on arrival, they charge this. So many people cancel their journey. So when such a news come up, I think it's good.
Okay.
The people also get encouraged that yes, when we are going to Uganda, there is no much SOPs, they can move in the park and they can enjoy their holiday session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, have you, as the Chamber of Commerce, done any lobbying or had an engagement with Uganda Wildlife Authority over these new park fees?
Not really, because our chamber has recently taken the place in February. So now we are planning, our chamber also planning to do some events to bring more footfall in Entebbe, as we can also utilize this express highway. Because if anybody is planning some like evening trip to from Kampala to Entebbe, I think the time is reduced. And it's good that somebody plan in the morning and they enjoy with the family and friends. In the evening they get back to their home, so they can plan as a day trip.
Okay.
So we are planning a Marine Expo. It's we are going to announce the date soon.
But what does that entail? From where to where in Entebbe?
Okay, in Entebbe, when you talk, so many people are not aware that how many water transports are available in Entebbe. So that's what our main intention is, that to show the people that from Entebbe how many destinations you can travel.
Okay.
And there's a different means of transports are available. You have a boat cruise from 5 to 10 people up to 50-60 people.
Okay.
And there is many boat crews are running from here, from Entebbe to Kalangala,
Yes.
from Entebbe to Jinja.
Okay.
From Entebbe, there is a very nice place just in front of our beach. If you drive by speedboat like 40 minutes, you will reach to Gamba Island.
Wow.
And you will see the chimpanzees there.
it's a
So
chimpanzee
that is a
island.
very rare community worldwide, and it's a good that we have in Uganda. And quite, I don't know exact number, but I think it's more than 49
Okay.
are there. And when you talk in terms of their structure, then they are 96.8% human.
Oh.
They behave like human.
Of course, the
And
chimpanzees, yes.
and they are fully
They
vegetarian.
are our closest relatives.
Exactly. And some of the business entrepreneurs have adopted some of the chimpanzees, so that's also recognized by their names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, lastly, challenges. What are the things you think you need to? What are the challenges you're facing, and what do you recommend going forward? Since we see maybe the business is recovering, there's a sort of recovery.
Yes.
It's a recovery phase. But what are the challenges and the recommendations you have? I mean not.
Okay, challenges are there, yes, but we should know how to face the challenges and how to come out from their challenges. Even the COVID is there, challenges was there. If COVID was not there, still challenges was there. So challenges are there, but yes, it can be resolved. It is depend on person to person how he face their challenges and how they resolve it. So if you talk in terms of recommendation, I always appeal to all our Ugandans that Entebbe is a beautiful place, and there is only one international airport in Uganda at the moment. So it's a kind of like peninsula, and there is so many hidden gems are available in Entebbe. People are not aware. So you can go to Gamba Island, you can see the chimpanzees. From here you can go to Kalangala Island, you can see beauty of the nature. There is a lot of small islands are available where you can have fun with the family and friends. And then there is also Snake Park, there is also Entebbe Zoo.
Yes.
And there is also, if you travel from our beach, maybe 15 to 20 minute ride from the boat, you have a Pineapple Beach Resort, Pineapple Bay, that is called Bulago Island.
Is it only pineapples there?
Yes, there's pineapple, and it's on Bulago Island, and there is also nice accommodation facilities are there by Mr. Amos, and there's so many. We can see like 10-minute boat ride from here. If you go, the equator is passing from there, which is the meeting point is in Masaka Road.
Oh.
So there is a lot of attractions are there around. There is also nice Sobel Park is there.
Okay.
If we go from here like 20-25 minute boat ride, you go to Mamba Island, Mamba Swamp, that is called Busi Island, and there is a facility called Sobel Park, and there also accommodation facilities are there. If you go, there is some adventure games are there. You can also go there, and there is a ropeway is there. So people can have a lot of activities. They can have accommodation there. They can stay over the nights, and they can also enjoy the boat cruise. And the Sobel, the bird is very rare, so you can have a chance to see over there. So it's a nice place, and the Entebbe is full of beauty and nature. So I think it's a nice, and you can say it's a relaxing place.
So Entebbe, let's say in summary, Entebbe is a melting pot, a melting pot of cultures. It has a variety of things that you can see, things that you can do as an individual.
You can also choose the places on your budget.
And as a family,
you can go to, there is also Marriott, Entebbe is there, Protea. There are another good facilities are there. Some such a small beach resort facilities are there where you can have all kind of cuisines, Indian, African, continental, and you can have fun. You can make your choice what you like.
Yes. So I thank you so much, Mr. Raul. Thank you for interacting with us this morning and sharing with us your thoughts about how the industry has been and where you see it going forward. And yes, so Ivan, Entebbe, please, if you've not visited Entebbe, just see where we are seated now is Saffron Beach, beach, yes, Saffron Beach. Bistro and Cottages is one of the places you see we are guarded by gorillas. And just a few meters from here, we have the beaches. Of course, the beaches, Mr. Raul has told us most of them were submerged by the water. But I think with time, we can come and swim. You can come and enjoy some lunch, come and eat fish and chips or fries, yes, and yeah. So it's been good. It was great interacting with you, Mr. Raul, and yeah, from me, that's it from us today.
Well, that is my colleague Joanna Akello speaking to us about that, of course. But we also want to understand from other sectors, the bar owners, the fishermen, and many other people who were also affected by the pandemic, to tell us what their experience was like and what do they learn from that.
First of all, my name is Olowo John. I'm the deputy teacher of Entebbe Bright Secondary School located in Chisembi, a locality found in Kumba Parish, Entebbe. The concern on table is how has COVID affected us and what are we doing? I'll begin with how it has affected us. The first concern is this was an unprecedented occurrence. To me, nobody was prepared for it. So it came poop and nobody's prepared for it, and we are all running up and down. That was the first thing. The second thing is remembering when exactly it came, it began. That was a time when we were just preparing to receive parents, paying the fees balances and what have you. And it came and that all went into thin air. So we lost financially, simply to put. And then the other effect is psychological. Everybody was affected psychologically, but the biggest effect, the psychological effect, was on the students. A good number of them never returned back. So the effect, psychological effect, was a big concern there. And what we are doing to solve the matter is, the first thing we are doing is we are considering this as a new normal. It's a normal thing. It has come, it is here to stay. It's like HIV and other natural vagaries that have come in the past. So we are dealing with it as something which is here to stay, but also trying to revamp our students psychologically, inclusive of the teachers as well. We are trying to do counseling. We had a number of counseling sessions throughout the term, and trying to explain to the parents that these students really need to be in school. So we do this side on the students, the other side on the parents. And I think basically, simply put, that's what we are doing right now.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Amanya gange nze Hajjati Nulu Nakamyoka. Nkolera wano mu Kitolo. Covid yatusanga ng'embeera teyali ya mulembe. Kati twasinganibwa Covid tetwabeera naye. Kati Covid najja ne tubeeramu nga tutambula, abamu twasulanga kubayita naye twatambuzanga bigere. Abaalinamuko ku busente bwabwe baasobola okupangisa ku buyumba okumpimpi ne tubeeramu. Abamu baasobola okulaba, abamu baasulako ne mu katale. Naye ffe nze saasulamu, naye ng'abamu baasulamuko ne mu katale. Kati okuva ku olwo Covid bwagenza ggwawo, kati tutandise okupiikinga, era twagala ab'amahotero bonna kati tulina ebintu birungi, bagaane kutya kano katale kaffe gavumenti yatuzimbira. Twagala abantu ne hotero bonna bajje batuguleko ebintu byaffe.
Amannya njagala ya Sn1 manager Good Life Bar Entebbe ewa Lwasa. Tuli ku Entebbe Road, kyaziza abantu baffe baneeno era tweyanza obbakyaza akawungeezi k'olwaleero. Embeera nga bw'ebadde etambula, omuggalo nga bweguli, era twali affected nnyo. Embeera yatukosa ng'abo b'amabaala, abamu tupangisa ebifo. So ekintu ekyo kyatunyiga nnyo ng'ekya renti, kyatuyingirira naddala bakama baffe, era twali tumanyi tetugenda kusangawo mirimu gino. Naye tugenda okudda era baakwata bwe bakwata ne tusangawo ebbaala yaffe ng'ekyaliwo eno eya Lwasa Good Life Bar. Naye as per now, essaawa zino engeri gye bitambulamu badde tebitambula bubi, naye embeera y'akasente, abantu baavu, abantu bo tebalina ssente, era tebitambula bulungi, so n'emisolo giri waggulu, bia tumusubulira ku renti ya waggulu, so tusaba gavumenti naye tutaaseeko ku ekyo ne bia kemu n'ebintu ebirala byonna bikkemu, so abantu basobole okuba nga badda mu sisitimu mpola neyanziza nnyo.
Amanyi abantu twaswa Junior Kasiba Nterwe Mbaawo nga ndi muvubi wano ku mwalo gw'Egguda era nga yenze omu ku bavubi abakuukutivu ku mwalo wano. Naye twasooka okubeera n'ekyekango ky'amazzi gajja ne gatulyawo era nago gatwalira ddala bubi nnyo, obuyumba bwaffe bwagenda, ebintu byaffe byayonooneka ddala mutufu nga bingi. We tutambulidde mu mbeera eyo bwe tumala omujjuzo nga gumaze okubaawo twajja ne tufuna ekizibu kya Covid. Oyo ye Covid bannange talina kiramu kye yatulekera wano, kubanga eryato lyennyini eryagendanga okuvuba amakonteyina gano gonna nga bwe mugalaba wano, nga nsobola okusindika amaato 3 ne gajjuza konteyina emu wano nga bwe muziraba, naye eryato nga balisindikamu omuntu ago omu. Kale Covid ekintu kye yankola mutufu bannange ekyo kyoze sikirojja, kye yatukolera ddala ffenna wamu, kubanga gano gonna amakonteyina siganga omu, ninako nga 2 ne bannange balinako amalala, naye mbutuufu embeera baganda bange yo gye tutwala gye yatutwala waali wabi nnyo embeera ya Covid. Naye saawa zino kati gye tuliko twagala kulabika nti bannange naffe gavumenti etuyamba, kubanga nze nga nze omu nina abakozi baalinga 15 be nsobola okubanga nkozesa, ne kati saawa eno sirina yadde n'erimu lyensindikayo kubanga obutimba bwayonooneka. Ogenda bwe twavira mu Covid obutimba bwonna nga bwononese, tugenze okugira tuti konteyina zino zonna zaagala lipeya zonna twali n'emu esobola kukola. Kati mbutuufu tulabika nga gye tugenda mu maaso awo tugenda tudidde ddala emabega bannange.
Amanya n'eddoboozi kyeyamaani wa bodaboda atwala omuluka gw'Enkumba Central, nga nze kyeyamaani waabwe abakulira. Mpozi Covid okuva lwe yajja ne lwe yagenda, ekyamazima tubadde tutandise okuddamu okweddabulula, naye ate era tusanzeemu obumulumulu obumu. Amafuta gali mu bbeeyi nnyo. Ekyokubiri bagamba otukebera emitwe, ekyokutukebera emitwe tuvuze bodaboda myaka 20 kumpi kwa 3. Emitwe gyaffe abamu miramu abamu si miramu. Si kikyamu okukebera abantu emitwe, naye ate waliwo omuntu golaba nti ono asaana okukebera omuntu oba ono tasobola okukebera waki mutwe. Ensonga endala gye tuzaako awo, gavumenti yagambye tukebera emitwe naye ate etulamuliridde ssente nnyingi, 60,000 okukebera omuntu omutwe. Gavumenti weba esazeewo okutukebera mitwe ekikole ng'ekikolera ku bwereere. Tumanye nti awo gavumenti evuddeyo okumanya nti ababodaboda mulimu abakyamu n'abatali bakyamu. Era ensonga endala tubadde tutandise okuvaayo okutandika okulaba nti omulimu gwaffe tuguzza bujja. Kuba olwaleero omulimu gwaffe ffe nga ab'ekatabi, ab'eggombolola y'ekatabi, nze nga atwala omuluka gw'Enkumba ntandise okuzza abaana bange obujja. Ngenda bafunira kaadizi ezibalaga buli omu stage wakolera n'okumanya nti ono akolera ku stage bweti ne bweti. Tusobole okulondoolamu ababoda abatuvumaganya abo abaagala ntukebeza emitwe kuba mwebali.
Well, we have listened from other sector players who have been telling us. Professor, I think from the voices that we've heard from people, schools were closed, bars were closed, and those are businesses that some other people survive on. You are a lecturer at Nkumba University. The effect has enormously been discussed. Among them were the girl child, challenges. Some got pregnant and now mothers, and many others. You, who is a lecturer at the university, what effect can you draw? What sense of difficulty do you think the lockdown had to cause, especially to you, who is a lecturer, and your students that you always interact with?
Okay, thank you, Ivan. I didn't tell you that at Nkumba University, I'm the chairperson of the Covid-19 task force. So what I'm telling you is a summary. Of course, the university did a great job by setting up a university COVID-19 task force, which has also some members from security, to people in accounts, to managers. Okay, we even have retired major leading security and so on. and of course, Dean of Students. The we instituted, it will be interesting that in Kumba University, even before they announced the SOPs, Kumba University had already instituted its own, SOPs at the gates. People were washing, and people were being advised to have masks. Okay, so you can see, a small university in Africa already, even before the official regulations had set up, these regulations. And of course, the management at some stage had to decide to put some of the students online. But then they also understood that many of the health sciences we have to teach physically, okay, to get the results. That's why you find that people like nurses, you have seen some of our students pass here, nursing, midwifery, and public health. Students had actually to come. Okay, whenever they allowed, they would actually come and we teach them physically. Okay, and of course, we kept telling them to put on their mask. And I give you a quick example. When we teach in my own class as a professor, the lecturer or the professor all the time has a mask, and then even the students, okay, and they are wearing space. So we had to
adjust
to practice what we preach, okay, and in that way, God has been with us. That we have not had any major.
Have you had any of your students perhaps maybe break out from school, given the long stay, the first lockdown before the schools were subjected, I mean higher institutions of learning, to online learning?
What do you mean break out?
Maybe those who were not able to return to school due to financial or any other related effects of the pandemic.
Well, this one, lack of returning because of finance, has nothing to do even with the COVID. Anytime a parent can have what? Can have, and with the situation that even the parents' income was subdued, then of course we could have such cases, but even the university administration was kind because they knew the situation with the parents.
Okay, Professor, I'll get back to you. Let me come back to Isaac. Isaac, from a diverse range of the people you were supporting, especially those you solicited food on their behalf and the rest, what status are they? Is it that the COVID era went with its challenges, or even some families are still grappling?
We want to acknowledge that COVID affected the population greatly, and through their sources of income, others were dropped off from their places of work, and of course that created
some kind of hurdle for some people to find new jobs and
exactly. So, and then there are some who were able to cope up when the economy opened. The taxi drivers, the borders, those were able to. But then there are few families, few people that are still there, that are still hustling with life because of the effects of COVID. But we continue to support them where we have the support, and then we see what awaits.
Okay, Professor, we understand you've been taking a research, a study on wearing of masks. Here on the panel, I am the only person who is without a mask for certain reasons that I know. But what can you tell us from the research, and what are some of the findings in your research?
Okay, Ivan, thanks very much. During the launch of that book, we actually, as a precursor, I presented the summary of the findings. We had a pilot survey, and the name was a pilot survey on perceptions of facial masks in selected communities in Entebbe area. So this is the area you actually working on. And in the study groups, we had the primary school students, pupils, P6. In 4 schools, we had the urban schools, urban primary schools, and then rural. Then we had the peri-urban villages, and then rural villages, very far, and then we had the university. And in a summary, for your listeners, I can say that with the age category, the highest age category was those between 10 to 20, which was 48%, 21 to 30, which was 21%, and it went down to 50 years plus, who were just 6.7%. Now, the gender for our pilot survey, we found that 53% were females and 47 were male. And usually, in many of these researches, you normally get more females because they are usually the ones we find around at home. Yes. Now, we also looked at the religion. The highest percentage of the religion, 32%, were Catholics, followed by Anglicans, about 28%, and Muslims, about 15%, which is normally, we got a very good ratio, which normally, even in UBOS, you can normally find that. Now, this is now good news to government. When we asked these people that, is it a good thing to use a facial mask in this COVID-19 era, pandemic era? The good news to government is that 95% of the people said yes, it is a good thing. Only 5 said it is not a good thing. Okay. Then we asked them that, okay, you say it's a good thing, but do you have a mask yourself? Do you have a mask? And well, Ivan hasn't got.
That is not my question.
Okay. And 98%, this is good news to government, said yes, they have a mask, and 2%, probably including Ivan here, said they don't have. Now, we raised a very good question. How did you get this mask? And I'm sure various stakeholders wish to know. And we found that the greatest majority, 65%, said that they had actually bought it themselves. And the 12% said they were given these masks by relatives. So these are including the people, the students. Now, this is good news to government that 21% said that they had got it from government, and then 1% others. Now, what is the good news? The good news is that although government
gave out free masks.
Gave out free masks and was making masks for everybody, the people would not wait because they saw people dying.
They had to go and buy their own.
They had to go and buy for their own. That is good news that, they had to move on as government, Then we asked them, how long have you had your mask? And you find that almost 80%, they had this mask from between 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. Okay. Then we put a golden question. We said that, okay, you said you have a mask. Yes. Do you actually use this mask? And this is the findings. We found that although 98 people said that they had a mask, only 89% this time said that they are actually using it. 11% said they were not using it. So, in order to assist government, we tried to see that, okay, let us try to probe the reasons of use and non-use, okay? Yes. Now, when we asked these people that, do you have any challenge?
Putting on the mask.
Putting on a mask, like Ivan here. The good news is that, the findings were that 60% said they have a problem. In other words, 3 out of 5 people. Okay, we are many, we are 5 here. Okay, 3 out of 5, they said, yes, we have a problem. okay, with the mask. And in order to assist government, we probed deeper. And then we found that 22 of our respondents said that they don't use it because it brings a skin rash to them, which is also understandable. It can be a medical problem. Okay, and then 49 of our respondents said that they don't put on a mask because it makes their face look funny. Okay, you can
you have demarcations on the face.
The listener can gauge who are these people. Yes. Of course, just digressing a little, the surgeons and the people, the doctors, sometimes have to use even a double mask and a shield, which actually can squeeze. So if you go into the semantics of a beautiful face, then of course, but that was then the greatest percentage. Okay, this was almost 6 out of 10. Yes. They said that breathing, the facial mask makes breathing difficult. I repeat, about 6 out of 10 said that breathing is made difficult by mask. And then there was an interesting small percentage which gave us other reasons. Yes. And Ivan, if you can allow me, I can quickly...
We can use 1 minute if you can just
yes,
read through. And
read through such that the listener can decide whether he is part of this one. Yes. Okay, one group of these others told us that they don't use the face mask because it makes the face sweat so much. The listeners can decide whether it's valid to them. Then they said the vapor disturbs spectacles.
The fog.
Yeah, the fog, okay. And you may find that your professor could be one of them, although he uses it. Yeah. Then some respondents said it brings dizziness to them. Yes. Okay, and medically it could be that they could have some underlying issues, maybe asthma or something. Okay, then one said, a few said it causes allergy. They didn't specify, but this is also scientific because depending on the material from which the mask is made and the person's skin, there can be some reactions. Yes. And you have known people who have got allergy because of masks. Then another answer was that it causes a headache. Some people get a headache. Headache could be that if they don't breathe well, it could also affect that one. Then there were a few cases where somebody said the mask is useless. Of course, these were very few, and they are in the society. You can get, we call them in statistics outliers. Those are very far from the truth. Okay. And then there was some people with unspecified complaint, but then somebody said it doesn't use it because it causes nausea and vomiting. Yes. Okay, which is also can have some medical or underlying issues. Now this is very interesting for viewers, particularly certain genders. Some people say that they don't use the mask because the mask rubs off lipstick.
That's an interesting one, and I want us to be specific and say this was for the females. If there is a man who puts on lipstick, then okay.
Now somebody said that they don't put it on because they fear that the mask could cause cancer. Okay, which it can be, but of course it could be with this material from which or even because of fake news from some people. Then somebody said that they cannot talk properly when the mask is on, which is also a valid a very
I've seen many government officials and other dignitaries saying, excuse me, I removed the mask.
Yeah, since I'm a teacher and I keep it teaching, so and of course we noted that when some people wash, particularly cotton masks, and they don't have many and they must go out to use them, if the mask is still wet, it is even more difficult to talk because even the air can. Then a group said that the air breathed out doesn't smell fine, that smells bad, okay? Can be explained.
That's carbon dioxide, right?
Yes. Then he said, some people said that I have to use a mask on and off. Like Ivan here, maybe some place he will put it on.
I'm forced to put it on.
And then, this is interesting, and the director of this hospital, Dr. Kevambe, said that it is interesting to him because some people said that a mask leads to pain in the ears, but that could be because of the straps. If they are so tight, in the end you can have what? Problems in the ear. So you see how this work is trying to show government the reason for use and non-use.
Yes.
And finally, and this is interesting, some people said that it is embarrassing to be with a mask among those with no mask.
Hope I am not a victim.
So, what can you comment on that one?
Okay, I get that. I think, Professor...
and the last group said that actually I just forget to put on the mask. Full stop.
Because it's not something usual. But Professor, I will come back to you for your parting shots. Let me return to Isaac Talema with the Red Cross. COVID seems to be now taking the graph down. As the Red Cross, we have known you for being supportive in response to humanitarian demands in times of disaster and other related. But as we wind this down, where do you think it has left people, especially for those that you've been responding and trying to assist when COVID was at its high peak?
You know, our assistance has come in so many ways. It's not only food. There is so much that we've been able to do out there. With the first wave, we deployed in markets to screen
temperature guns, I saw.
and make sure that everyone sanitizes or cleans their hands as they enter the market. So when we trained and built capacity of the markets, we donated to them tanks and soap so that they can keep doing. When we left that, we went to risk communication because we had to continue telling people, the population, about what COVID is, how do you get it, how do you prevent yourself from not getting it. That we did. Then later we had to talk about home-based care because when you look at the second wave, our hospital facilities were so overwhelmed. And when you would come and test with mild symptoms of COVID, you would be told to go back home
and take
care of yourselves. And so many people didn't know about that. So you would find there would be people visiting each other, and through that, they would collect up infection.
And Isaac, I want you to use 30 seconds.
And then, lastly, now we're into vaccination. We're into vaccination. We are vaccination champions. We are trying to educate the community the importance of a vaccine and the importance of taking the vaccine, and also to try and clear out the myth that has been put on social media about the vaccine. So we continue to implement our activities until Uganda is declared a COVID-free zone.
Well, Isaac Talema there, volunteer with the Red Cross. Thank you very much for your parting shot. Let me come back to the professor.
Yeah,
as you wind up...
Can I chip in on vaccination? Before?
Please, maybe in 30 seconds or something, Professor.
One of the questions we asked with these masks, and this is good news to government, we asked them that, is vaccination against COVID-19 a good thing? And our results are that 90% said yes, it is a good thing, and only 10% said that it isn't. Then the last question we said, and this is very interesting, that if a person is vaccinated against COVID-19, should this person continue to put a mask? And this is the good news. 67% said yes, 32% said no. So this means that in our recommendation here, we recommended to government that they need to do health education to inform people that even when you have been vaccinated, you need to keep on your facial masks. And also to inform them that facial mask is not only can protect only against COVID-19, but several, aerosol infections, okay, in the air, including TB, influenza, and the rest. Thank you very much.
Okay, Professor, let me pick your parting shots in the 30 seconds that I gave Isaac as well. What do you say from your book that everyone, or what you think people should read this book?
Well, it shows the history of the problem, what new infections are, and then the mistakes made, and then the heroes and what we need to learn from these mistakes.
And where should people find such books?
Well, those books, those who are interested can contact me, and then I can get them the books, and whoever buys it, I personally autograph on it, such that it shows that you have not just picked it from somewhere. You got the autograph of the author. And I've written a few other books if you are interested to know that.
Well, for time reasons, Professor and Isaac will leave it there, but really thank you very much for making time to speak to us. We don't take this for granted. And really we say it's been a good discussion with the two gentlemen, Professor Mithi Mosoke and Isaac Tarema here, making sense of COVID-19 post and its related challenges and how people are coping up. Of course, we want to thank those who have been with us from the start, those who have been able to follow up. Professor has not only written the book about a view, it's a view from Africa on COVID-19. He has also written many others. I can see one about an African professor himself writing about himself. I can see an interesting world of wild animals as well, and many others. But as he rightly put it, you can reach out onto him and this information is there. The good thing is to have these things documented for reference. You may never know what the world or what the future will hold. For time reasons, I want to hand over from this time, and I want to thank the Entebbe Regional Referral Hospital. Personally, I want to also thank Dr. Moses Muanga, though he is now transferred to the Ministry of Health as an Assistant Commissioner, but you did us a great job when you are here in the times of the pandemic upon its intensification. We want to also thank all other staff who have served in the hospital and many others across the country who have been able to help the public in curbing down the pandemic. I also want to thank my production team led by Adam Walusimbi yourself. We don't take this for granted. For now, we are out. Imagine if leadership and development was a uniting factor for people towards a certain achievement. When people set aside their political differences and affront a cause that will benefit everyone.
What does Omuntu Wawansi see as development in Entebbe?
We have the only international airport in this area.
There is no way we can underlook issues of health.
Buza meya achegana. Tauni kiraka achegana.
Who is the problem now?
That is politics.
That tulina kyakulya n'ekya tekigenda kubaawo.
Atene President Museveni bannanga akyali baby.
Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. as we discuss matters in Entebbe, the first Uganda's colonial capital, and what it deserves.